Who gon' take it there? 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 Electricity, 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 electricity. You know what's in the air. 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 It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility.
So Hasan Piker did an interview with Mahmoud Khalil that I wanted to highlight because there were some interesting details in there about his experience being arrested by ICE and transported to the Louisiana facility that he was ultimately spent most of his time at and was then released from. So Hasan talks to him about this. They talk a decent amount about like the greater issue of Israel and Israeli propaganda and its role in the Trump administration and policy and how this sort of led to this act of aggression. But I thought the most interesting and most informative part of it was the details about how these operations have been going down and what are some of the loopholes and the gray areas that they are exploiting in order to get as many people as they can. And a lot of the people that have been arrested and transported to these facilities through one means or another are not as educated on this system and not as capable within the system as Mahmoud Khalil is. So that is an interesting perspective that he has. He apparently, when he was inside, was spending time with the other detainees, giving them information about how to get their paperwork straight and helping them with the bureaucracy of it all, because many of them were navigating a system that they don't understand the language of, and they were being tricked in various ways by the authorities. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I'll play some clips right now of Mahmoud talking about his experience being arrested and transported to this facility, and then we'll move on from there.
How did you feel? What was going on in your mind when you had masked agents?
That they were not masked, just to be honest.
Okay, well, did they identify themselves?
They did not. So they were literally plain clothes.
So like plain clothes, random plain clothes people coming into where you live. Because I remember seeing the video that your wife shot, and it was harrowing. But how did it feel in the moment?
So I was basically at that point, like I had been targeted by smear campaign doxing online for like almost two weeks. It was very coordinated. You're in there? Okay.
Oh yeah, I know all about that.
Hall of Fame. Yeah. So basically, like I mean, it was like very coordinated. You know, like every day, like the same tweet. I don't know, like 10 times with the same information about me. So I was expecting something like, you know, you have all these like Zionists mentioning Rubio and mentioning DHS, ICE, and all that stuff. I was like, to me, you know, like maybe they will visit me, like talk a little bit, then they would figure out that this is all bullshit. Like there's nothing against you. You did not say what they're accusing you of saying. But even if you said it, it's fair to
Yeah, it's exactly.
But the bigger part was like, you know, I'm a green card holder. Like I'm not a student. So when they came and they tell me like, oh, your student visa has been revoked, and they looked at me, I was like, I don't have a visa. Like, what are you talking about? And he got so confused.
It's easy to confuse them, I think.
They're usually confused.
Yeah, they're very
care.
confused
like,
all the time.
Care. They don't have to do anything to get in trouble. And then, like my wife Noor got the green card. They saw the green card, got more confused.
So she brought out the green card.
Yeah, we brought the green card. We're like, this is my green card. Like, what visa are you talking about? And then they talked to their superior and like bring him anyway. So
in the beginning, when they were apprehending you, did it feel like, I mean, are these like actually members of law enforcement? Are these just like random thugs that, you know?
Yeah, I had that thought the very beginning before I got into their office at Federal Plaza here. But then that was repeated when I got into I got to Louisiana because they would take me from one car to another.
Yeah.
It was, I think, 12 in the night, and they would take me from one car to another shadow. So I'm like, maybe they are, but they are not. You know?
There's a severe lack of legal limitations. Like a police officer can't do a warrantless search and seizure, but technically ICE, in the way that they operate, are in a legal gray area.
No, they can. I mean,
Yeah.
they literally broke into my building.
Yeah, exactly.
They broke into my building, and yeah, they got away with it because in ICE, like, they can just follow someone into the building.
Yeah, cops do that too sometimes, but
But also they cannot show a warrant
yeah,
arrest warrant. Like it's just bizarre to have, and they don't have body cams.
yeah,
So like, and they are law enforcement agency. They don't even have the body
Yeah.
cam. So they act in total impunity. I was spending like my time with over 70 men in the same dorm. Like, not that I have like my own room cell. No, like the 70 people are over 70. Like I say, like it's at a minimum 70, more than 70 in this dorm. And I mean, you'd spend your time mostly like listening to people's stories. A more just heart-wrenching story after another. That was like a big part of my day. Someone came telling me, showing me like documents. He's like, he has just arrived to the facility. So he showed me the documents, and he told me like, I haven't talked to my lawyer. Like, what are these documents? So I read them. He signed on his deportation. I told him like, this is your deportation.
Yeah, that's
like,
a very common,
no one told me about that.
very common tactic is you're getting them to sign a piece of paper
and I was
telling them it's a self-deportation
I was
order.
like, did you know that it's your deportation order? He's like, no, they told me like I have to sign it in order to transfer me to Gina. And then 2 days later, he was deported to Guatemala. And he has a U.S. doctor here. So he did not even get the chance to see a lawyer to challenge that. Any.
All right, so first and foremost, he says there that when they arrested him, they were supposedly doing it on the premise that his visa had been revoked, to which he replied that he doesn't have a visa and that he has a green card. So that was pretty widely reported at the time of his arrest. It was one of the few things that we knew about his arrest. He was approached by plainclothes officers. There is footage of this as well, of him talking to these officers and ultimately leaving with them. And he says that they threatened his wife as well, that if she didn't, separate from him, that they would arrest her as well. And she was 9 months pregnant at the time. So they took him away. He said that they were quite confused about the green card thing, and that it took them a while to sort their shit out, but then ultimately they called their superior, and he was taken. And so he thought the whole time that at some point this was going to get sorted out because they had the information wrong. So he was kind of patiently going along up until the point, I suppose, that they started transporting him around. And something else interesting that he says there that I think shows the shoddiness of these operations and a real valid fear was that the way they were transferring him from vehicle to vehicle made him wonder, like, are these just random guys? And now this was after he knew that he had been officially arrested by ICE, because he said originally he had the thought in his mind that these could just be anybody off the street until he got to the office and he realized, okay, this is legit. But then he said after that, because of the way they were transferring him from vehicle to vehicle, he started to get suspicious that there might be something sketchy going on here. Because again, these are plainclothes guys, unmarked vehicles. There's nothing procedural happening at any point in this. They are passing him from team to team. They probably have different groups, handfuls of guys that are sort of operating, doing either arrest operations where they go into schools or work sites or whatever they do, or they're doing these sort of transporting operations. So really sketchy shit, and none of this is on the books at all. And then he also says that in the facility, he talked to a guy who had all this paperwork, and he showed it to him, and he didn't understand what it meant. And the guy and Mahmoud looked at it, and he realized that it was a signed self-deportation order. And so he asked him, did you know that? And the guy said no. They told him that it was something that they needed to transfer him to the facility that he is at. They called it Gina. That's the facility that Mahmoud was transferred to in Louisiana. So they lied to him to get him to sign this piece of paper that he didn't understand. That piece of paper was a self-deportation order. Mahmoud said that guy was deported to Guatemala 2 days later. He had a daughter in the United States and didn't get a chance to talk to a lawyer or anything. So that's the kind of process that's going on, and they're only trying to accelerate this. So these major flagship arrests that they made, like of the woman Ozturk or Mahmoud Khalil, seem for now to have been contradicted by the court because they've been released. Now, that does not mean that it's over. And in the case of Mahmoud Khalil, and I think in all of their cases, these are still actively moving through the courts. And in the cases where some of Trump's policies get stopped on the lower level, those have not been the decisions that have carried through in the higher court so far, has been my observation. It seems like the Supreme Court and the higher courts have given Trump more wins than losses. So we don't know how many of these cases are going to end in deportations. Mahmoud Khalil has taken out a lawsuit against the Trump administration, a $20 million lawsuit for violation of his free speech, forcing him to miss the birth of his first child, and unlawful detention, trauma, and all that. And he said that he would be willing to forego the payment for an apology and the ceasing of the policy on the part of the Trump administration. So an attempt to instill some accountability there. We will see. I have no idea where, what the path of a case like that is. I think he certainly has a case. And if there's going to be a decision on it, it'll certainly be way down the line. And who knows what Trump or his administration's ability to evade that at the time will be. Like, say that case gets resolved after the Trump administration is over and passed on to whatever is next, whether it's another Republican God King or a Democrat or something else, that would just still be a case against the government. So it's possible that he'll get his restitution or some kind of apology in some form, but that's probably just going to be a battle that is fought in the courts for most of the duration of this term, I would assume. And as for whether or not Mahmoud will end up being deported, probably not. Arrested again, maybe. And look, he certainly could be deported. I'm not sure. I think the immigration cases have a different path in the court system, so that maybe that will not end up in a place that is as favorable to Trump's policy, but we shall see. So this ties in nicely with talking about Alligator Alcatraz. There is some more information coming out now about who exactly is detained there as of now. Apparently 250 out of the around 750 people that are detained there currently have no criminal record at all, and a third of them have criminal convictions, which are anything from attempted murder to traffic violations. And many of these people are innocent. And so the government has tried to claim that they are all criminals. And that is exactly what the Trump administration has been saying, is that we're only going to go after the criminals first, but then all of them are criminals because they're here illegally. And so they deserve all the same treatment. Meanwhile, they are arresting people who are here legally, like Mahmoud Khalil, who is a legal permanent resident. And there are definitely cases where people who are detained were here legally on some type of program that was canceled by the Trump administration. And so their legal status was put into limbo or put into a gray area. Not to mention that people who are going along the path of getting their citizenship verified are being arrested at court. So those are the people who are ending up in these facilities. It's not violent criminals, it's not gang members. It is by and large normal people, workers that they're picking up on farms, and they're trying to ramp up these operations throughout the country. Stephen Miller and the Trump administration are urging governors of red states to build more of these Alligator Alcatraz prisons. So they want more states to build these campsites for them, because it basically puts things in a legal gray area where ICE can allow the local government to operate in a federal capacity. So the local government is in control of the facility, operating in a federal capacity, but the federal government is not responsible for what happens in the facility. And this also extends to the people that are being arrested. They're stopping people at stop signs, routine traffic sites, and because local law enforcement has been authorized to participate in these immigration arrests, they can stop somebody at a stop sign, and just because they think something doesn't look right with their record, or in some cases just because they look like an immigrant, they can be detained. And so in many cases those people are probably released, and there are some stories about that, citizens being released because they were arrested under assumption that they weren't citizens. But in some cases, it's not hard to see when you look at the story that Mahmoud Khalil told about how they were passing him along and nobody knew what was going on. They thought he was being arrested over a visa. They weren't able to verify that until later, and he was still arrested anyway. So before anybody who was carrying out the operation knew what was going on, he was already in cuffs and being transferred to multiple facilities, etc. And so, I mean, they're doing this on a mass scale. And so that's what really needs to be emphasized, is that when you talk about mass deportations, that's what you're talking about. You're talking about rounding people up without regard for their individual situation. Mahmoud Khalil was denied his medication. All of these people are denied medication. They're denied proper nutrition. The conditions at these sites are horrible, and they're only going to get worse. And the administration wants to ramp this up by essentially putting it on the states to create these horribly run facilities where the federal government can run cover for them, essentially running those facilities with no standards whatsoever. So more and more people are going to be put in those conditions. More and more information is going to come out about it, as well as images, and we need to definitely make sure that that is at the forefront of what we are showing people, as well as images and ongoing information about what's going on in Gaza, because remember, that is what Mahmoud Khalil was arrested for in the first place, was being a negotiator on behalf of the student protesters at Columbia. And he was selected for that position because he was a compromising and pragmatic leader. That was how he operated. And so that is exactly why he was in the communications role for the Solidarity Encampment, I believe it was called, at Columbia. So that is the protected free speech that led to Mahmoud Khalil's rights being violated in much the same way that many immigrants who were granted some form of amnesty, or who are here legally on some grounds, or even who were just here undocumented with no cause for them to be deported under horrible conditions like this. All of their rights are being violated. Effectively, all of our rights are being violated as their rights are being violated. I do believe this will come to a tipping point at some point, but only if we don't shut up about it. Like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you really want to support, consider becoming a member. That's the best way to support this channel. I'm also running a live stream now of my own music and content 24/7. So go check that out. If you're interested in the music, you can drop a comment in the chat. Tell me what you think of the music, or ask me a question. I'm going to be kind of checking in on the chat there regularly, just to talk to you guys if you have any questions for me or want to suggest things. And then if you send super chats in there too, I can read those on the pod. Just some new things that I'm trying out. I also got my website up with a little bit of merch on there, just a hoodie and a hat for now. I'm selling those at retail price just to try to get some stuff out there. So if any of that is your cup of tea, check it out and become a member if you want access to exclusive music and different kinds of content before anybody else gets it.